The photos showed a stunning villa with infinity pool, tropical gardens, and ocean views. The reality was cracked walls, no running water, and neighbors who wanted us gone. We're David and Linda, and we spent our entire retirement fund on a Bali dream that turned into a $320,000 nightmare. I'm standing in what was supposed to be our master bedroom, water dripping from the ceiling onto moldy tiles, while my wife Linda cries in the corner. This isn't how retirement in paradise was supposed to look. But what I'm about to tell you next will shock you even more than our financial loss, because the real nightmare was just beginning. But let me take you back to how this disaster began, because the warning signs were there from the start. And the people we trusted most were the ones planning our destruction. 18 months earlier, Linda and I were sitting in our Denver living room, surrounded by retirement brochures and dreams of tropical paradise. After 35 years of marriage and successful careers, I was a civil engineer. She was a high school principal. We'd saved $420,000 for our golden years. I'm tired of shoveling snow, Linda said, looking at yet another Colorado blizzard through our window. What if we could retire somewhere warm, somewhere beautiful, somewhere our money could go further? That's when we discovered Bali through a YouTube channel called Expat Paradise. The videos showed Western couples living like royalty in stunning villas for a fraction of what retirement would cost in America. Your dollar goes 4 times further in Bali, the narrator promised. Live the life you've always dreamed of. We booked a 2-week scouting trip to Ubud, Bali's cultural heart. The moment we stepped off the plane, we felt the magic. Warm tropical air, friendly smiles, and a cost of living that seemed almost too good to be true. A meal that would cost $30 in Denver was $7 in Bali. A massage that cost $100 at home was $15 here. During our second week, we met Kadek, a local real estate agent who specialized in helping foreigners buy property. He was charming, spoke perfect English, and seemed genuinely interested in helping us find our dream home. I have the perfect property for you, Kadek said, driving us through winding roads lined with rice paddies. It's a traditional Balinese villa but with modern amenities. The owners are moving to Australia and need to sell quickly. The villa was breathtaking. 2 stories, 4 bedrooms, an infinity pool that seemed to blend into the jungle canopy. Hand-carved wooden furniture, traditional Balinese artwork, and gardens that looked like they belonged in a magazine. This usually sells for $400,000, Kadek explained. But the owners are motivated. They'll take $320,000 cash. No financing contingencies. Linda and I exchanged glances. This was exactly what we'd dreamed of. A tropical paradise that would cost less than a modest condo in Denver. But here's the first twist that should have made us run. Kadek introduced us to 3 other foreign couples who had bought properties through him. They all had glowing reviews, perfect experiences, and seemed genuinely happy with their purchases. What we didn't know was that these couples were paid actors, part of an elaborate con designed to gain our trust. The paperwork seemed legitimate. Kadek showed us the property deed, tax records, and building permits. He even arranged for us to meet the owners, an Australian couple named Mike and Sarah who seemed eager to close the deal. We love this place, Mike said, but Sarah's mother is sick in Perth, and we need to move back to care for her. Your timing is perfect. Sarah even cried when she handed us the keys. This house has been our paradise for 5 years. Please take good care of it. The performance was so convincing that Linda hugged her, promising to cherish their home. The legal process was handled by Kadek's law firm, which had Western partners and seemed professional. They explained that as foreigners, we couldn't own land directly, but we could own through a legal structure called a nominee arrangement. It's completely legal, the lawyer assured us. Thousands of foreigners own property this way. The local partner owns the land on paper, but you have full rights to use, rent, or sell the property. We should have done more research. We should have hired independent lawyers. We should have questioned why such a beautiful property was being sold so far below market value. But we were blinded by the beauty of the place and the promise of retirement paradise. We wired $320,000 from our retirement account to the law firm's escrow account. The transfer went smoothly, and within a week, we had our keys and property documents. We were homeowners in paradise. The first month was everything we dreamed of. We woke up to bird songs and tropical breezes. We ate fresh fruit from our own trees. We swam in our infinity pool while watching spectacular sunsets. Our monthly expenses were about $800, leaving us plenty of money for travel and entertainment. We even made friends with other expats in the area. James and Carol from Canada had bought a similar villa 2 years earlier. They warned us about some of the local customs and helped us navigate the cultural differences. The key to living here successfully, James told us over dinner, is to respect the local community and never forget that you're a guest in their country. But paradise began to crack in month 2. The pool pump broke, and when we called for repairs, we discovered that the electrical system wasn't up to code. The repair would cost $5,000, money we hadn't budgeted for. Then the roof started leaking during monsoon season. The contractor we hired had discovered that the previous owners had used substandard materials, and the entire roof needed to be replaced. Another $8,000. Here's where the second twist comes in. Our new friends James and Carol suddenly became distant. They stopped returning our calls and avoided us at expat gatherings. We later discovered why. They were part of the scam too, planted to monitor us and report back to the crime syndicate. The biggest shock came when our neighbor, an Indonesian man named Wayan, knocked on our door with a very disturbing message. "This house belongs to my family. You need to leave." Wayan claimed that the land our villa was built on had been sold illegally, without proper consent from the traditional village council. He had documents showing that his family had owned the land for generations. We contacted Kadek immediately, but his response was evasive. "Don't worry about Wayan. He's just trying to cause trouble. Your ownership is completely legal." But Wayan wasn't giving up. He brought more family members, then village elders, then local officials. They all claimed that our property purchase was invalid, that we had no right to be there. The situation escalated when Wayan's supporters began a campaign of harassment. They would play loud music at night, block our driveway with motorbikes, and cut off our water and electricity. We were prisoners in our own paradise. Then came the third twist that changed everything. Linda discovered that our villa was being advertised for sale on international real estate websites while we were still living in it. The same photos, the same description, the same price. Someone was selling our home out from under us. We hired independent lawyers, who delivered devastating news. Our nominee arrangement was illegal. The local partner who supposedly owned the land on our behalf had sold the same property to multiple foreign buyers. We weren't the only victims. The Australian couple we bought from, they never owned the property either. They were part of the scam, paid actors who helped convince us to buy. The real owners were Wayan's family, who had been fighting fake sales for years. The property documents were forgeries. The building permits were fake. Even the law firm that handled our purchase was part of the elaborate fraud. We had bought a property that wasn't legally for sale from people who didn't own it. But the fourth twist was the most sinister. We discovered that this wasn't just a property scam. It was an organized crime operation that had been running for years. Kadek wasn't just a crooked real estate agent. He was the leader of a sophisticated international fraud ring. The operation worked like this. They would identify wealthy Western retirees through online forums and social media. They would create fake properties, forge documents, and use paid actors to create believable scenarios. Once they had the money, they would use harassment and intimidation to force the victims to flee the country. Our attempts to recover our money hit wall after wall. The escrow account was empty. The funds transferred to offshore accounts. Kadek had disappeared, and the law firm claimed they were victims too. Indonesian courts don't recognize foreign property ownership, and our nominee arrangement gave us no legal standing. We were squatters in our own home, with no rights and no recourse. The harassment intensified. Wayan's supporters surrounded our villa, demanding we leave. They cut off our utilities permanently and blocked food deliveries. We were literally under siege. The fifth twist came when we tried to contact the US Embassy for help. The consular officer told us something that made our blood run cold. "You're the 15th American couple this year to report the same scam. We've been warning about this for months, but people keep falling for it." We weren't alone. There were dozens of other victims. British, Australian, Canadian, and American retirees who had lost their life savings to the same operation. Some had lost even more than we had. The breaking point came when someone threw rocks through our windows while we slept. Linda had a panic attack, and I realized we were in physical danger. We packed our essentials and moved to a hotel, abandoning our dream home. But the sixth and most devastating twist was yet to come. Linda had a heart attack from the stress. We were in a foreign country with no health insurance, no money, and a medical emergency that could have killed her. The hospital bills ate through our remaining savings. Linda needed surgery, medications, and weeks of recovery. We were trapped in Bali, unable to leave because of her condition, unable to afford proper care because of our financial situation. The psychological toll was devastating. Linda blamed me for not doing enough research. I blamed her for pushing us to buy so quickly. Our marriage, which had survived 35 years, was cracking under the weight of our $320,000 mistake. During Linda's recovery, I learned the final, most shocking twist. Cadec's operation was protected by corrupt local officials who received a percentage of every scam. The police knew about the fraud but were paid to look the other way. The local prosecutor who should have investigated our case was Cadec's brother-in-law. The judge who would have heard our civil case owned property with the same crime syndicate. We weren't just fighting criminals. We were fighting an entire corrupt system. We couldn't afford to stay in Bali hotels indefinitely. But we also couldn't afford to go home. Our retirement fund was gone, spent on a house we couldn't live in, medical bills we couldn't afford, and legal fees that accomplished nothing. The final insult came when we discovered that our villa was being advertised for sale again, to new foreign victims. The same photos, the same promises, the same lies that had trapped us. We eventually returned to Denver, broke and broken. Linda's sister had to wire us money for plane tickets. We had to move in with her, sell our remaining possessions, and start over at 63 and 61 years old. Linda went back to work as a substitute teacher. I took a part-time consulting job. Our marriage survived, but barely. We had to rebuild everything. Our finances, our trust, our dreams. The trauma of those months in Bali still affects us today. Linda still has nightmares about the harassment. I still jump every time the phone rings. Here's what we learned too late. Foreign property ownership in many countries is restricted for good reason. Nominee arrangements are often illegal and always risky. If a deal seems too good to be true, it probably is. Research the laws yourself, not just what sellers tell you. Hire independent lawyers who don't work with the real estate agents. Visit the property multiple times at different seasons. Talk to neighbors and local officials. Most importantly, never invest more than you can afford to lose completely. Paradise exists, but it can't be bought with retirement savings and desperation. Our $320,000 Bali nightmare taught us that dreams can become nightmares very quickly when you're not careful about who you trust with your future. The people we trusted most were the ones planning our destruction from the very beginning. Don't let our mistake become yours. The paradise they're selling you might be the same one that destroyed us.